you said the guarantors are guaranteeing the guaranteed property, and they're guaranteed to be guarantored for the rest of their life.
All right, let's go.
Peter Papa picked a patch, pick peppers.
Guarantor Home Loans. They allow you to borrow up to 105% of the property value. Today, we're going to go through everything you need to know about going for a guarantor loan.
Including the exact way you can buy a home today with no deposit. Yeah, for real.
Let's dive right in.
So with a guarantor home loan, instead of having to save up your deposit over a bunch of years, you could potentially buy a property and use your guarantor, usually your parents' property, to secure your deposit loan.
That's right, the banks will allow a guarantor home loan for if you're looking to buy an investment property for the first time, to buy your first home to live in, even if you've had properties before but you've sold and now you're looking to get back in the market.
With the guarantor home loan, how much can you actually borrow, Nathan? Can you buy a home with no deposit?
Absolutely you can. So the banks will let you borrow 100% of the purchase price, as well as covering things for like stamp duty and government costs. So you can go right up to 105%. Back in the day, they used to even allow you to close out car loans or get money to do renovations. Unfortunately, you can't do that anymore. So it's limited to usually no more than 105% of the property value. And that small 5% is only for things like government costs.
To be honest though, most banks are limiting guarantor home loans at the moment to about 100%. So there's only one or two lenders that will go that whole 105 and include the stamp duty. So the reality is you can borrow the full purchase price. So if you're buying a property for $500,000, you can totally include your purchase price. And then you generally have to cover some costs like stamp duty and your other fees. So if you're a first home buyer in your state, obviously there's concessions, you might get the stamp duty waived, so you might not need too much more cash. But if you're gonna have to pay a bit of stamp duty, it's gonna come out of your top pocket. All right, Nathan, so let's explain the mechanics behind guarantor home loans. How does it actually work? How is the bank gonna give me 100% of my purchase price with no deposit? It's pretty sweet, right?
The simplest and most easiest way to understand it is that the banks will lend 80% on the property you're actually purchasing. The remainder of the funds, 20% plus any costs, is secured as the second mortgage on mum and dad's property.
So in other words, the 20% deposit that's secured against mum and dad's property is all your parents need to guarantee against their property. So they're not on the hook for your whole purchase price, 100%, just the 20%. So typically a guarantor home loan works really well if you're earning great income, but you don't have the deposit and mum and dad have paid down their loan enough that they've got a bit of equity in their home.
The other thing is, if mum and dad still have a mortgage on their property, they can still be considered, so long as there's enough equity in the property. Some other things that banks might look for is if the guarantors are still working. So remembering not all banks are equal, and if your parents are retired, that can be a no-no for some lenders. The good news is there's still plenty of lenders that will do a guarantor for retirees. So Jayden, if I'm going for a guarantor loan, do I need to show a savings pattern?
So even though you've technically got no deposit, some banks don't really need to see genuine savings, which is you saving up deposit over 3 months. So it's completely fine in most cases.
In some cases, some lenders actually want to see you putting a little bit of skin in the game, and that goes to showing 5% saved up over a period of time. As we said before, not all lenders are the same. Every lender's got a different view on the world when it comes to guarantor loans.
Yeah, it kind of would defeat the purpose of the guarantor loan. So generally they're okay, as long as it makes sense. Again, you know, if the common scenario we see is it might be two professionals or someone that's working full time, has been spending a lot of money on rent and just living expenses and hasn't been able to save up that quickly. But with the guarantor home loan, it's a bit of a forced savings and kind of get you in the market a bit easier. All right, Nathan, lastly, who can go as guarantor for my loan? Is it anyone? Do down the street?
Typically speaking, the most common guarantees are mum and dad. Now you can get siblings, brothers, sisters. You can also get grandparents as guarantors. And also if you've got a guardian, they can go guarantor as well. But typically what we see most commonly used is mum and dad.
Yeah, I had one recently where the guy's dad and his uncle owned a property, and it was a bit of a gray area because uncle, technically not obviously parents, but the bank was okay with it. So there's a few exceptions there, but it's got to kind of make sense. Otherwise, like Nathan said, generally it's mum and dad.
So that's it for today, guys. If you have any questions about guarantor home loans, feel free to hit us up at huntergalloway.com.au. If you've liked today's video, please like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.